Hello everyone and welcome to a very special video where I'm going to go through the AFL draftees in the top 20 odd contention. This is not a phantom draft. I will be releasing my phantom draft probably a week or two before the draft, and then I'll do my final phantom draft the morning of or the night before. But I'm just going to go through those power ranking lists that I went through. Necessarily, I'll just go through some players individually, what some of their strengths are, and maybe their areas they need to improve on, but mainly we'll focus on the positives with these individuals. Now, we'll start off with Will Ashcroft. Obviously, he'll go. I'm going off the basis of my AFL draft power rankings. Will Ashcroft, Harry Sheezel, George Wardlaw, Aaron Cadman. In no particular order, they are the top four. Will Ashcroft also get bidded on by the GWS of North Melbourne, who go to Brisbane as a father-son. Midfielder, ready-made. He'll be sliding into the starting 22 of the Brisbane Lions, and that's a very hard team to get into. Even with the addition of Josh Dunkley, Will Ashcroft will slot straight in. Would have played this year had he been eligible to play. With North Melbourne, though, then we go to North Melbourne with 2 and 3. I'm not going to go through him for Phantom Draft. I almost started slipping the gun telling him about my Phantom Draft. But Harry Sheezel, George Wardlaw, two midfielders. Sheezel can play a bit more forward. There'll be two guys if you want to look for pure mids. George Wardlaw can be that. Harry Sheezel can play midfield and push forward as well. Will Ashcroft more of an inside mid. Aaron Cadman, who will go pick one to the Giants. Well, if it's not pick one, it's pick two for the Giants, depending if they bid on Ashcroft. The standout key forward in the draft, Aaron Cadman. They call him the Jeremy Cameron clone. So he's a key forward to keep an eye on. Some of the midfielders also keep an eye on Elijah Sardis. He can play a tall player, midfielder. They can get a lot of the ball. He's got some speed about him. So if that's the type of player you want, Elijah Sardis is the man. Bailey Humphrey, he's a smaller player in size. Play midfield, but it can also hit the scoreboard and play up forward. If you want more of a smaller type midfielder who can push forward, so probably sounds like you could compare him to like a Jay Gresham type. Bailey Humphrey is your guy. Matthias Philippou, very exciting prospect in this year's draft. He could go anywhere from pick 5 to 12. Matthias Philippou is a South Australian, the first South Australian that I've mentioned, outside of those other 6 names I mentioned. He is a tall mid, 190 odd centimetres, can play forward as well. Very good, the X Factor type about him. If you want that X Factor type player, Matthias Philippou is your man. I could see him go from anywhere from pick 5 to 12. Personally, I think he could be right up there in the mix for pick 5 of the Gold Coast, as early as the Gold Coast Suns pick. So, I'm very interested in the Hawks. Will they show interest? Geelong, if they miss out on Jai Clark, will they look at him? That's a very good one to keep an eye out on. Cam McKenzie, St Kilda NGA play, obviously can only get to St Kilda if he's available. They're picking if they want to select him. Unfortunately, if the new rules if you're an NGA guy now in the top 40, you can't match a bid on, which is annoying. They changed it after we finally have a player eligible in that category, like last year with Mitch Owens and Marcus Winhager. Not a rule I like at all. It's funny they let the Bulldogs get Sam Darcy in and Jamari Ugle-Hagan through this way. But once that was happening, let's call it quits, because should have called it quits a long time ago, but here we are. So Cam McKenzie, more of an inside mid, got a bit of speed about him, got a bit of size about him as well. He'll be interesting one if the Saints do have him available at their pick. They probably will take him. It's an interesting one to see though whether someone else beforehand would take him, whether the Gold Coast would look at him, the Hawks. I'm just keeping an eye on Geelong. If they miss it on Jai Clark, Cam McKenzie, I wouldn't rule out as a chance for Geelong. The next key forward in the draft will be Matt Jefferson. From Victoria as well, tall forward, can kick some goals. I think he did a bag of 6 in one game as well. So Matt Jefferson's another key forward along with Aaron Cadman and another name which we'll get to shortly. Braden George, obviously, unfortunately, done his ACL mid-season. Braden George was almost a definite top 10 draftee before his ACL injury. And honestly, he could still be a top 10 pick as well. So Braden George is someone to keep an eye out on. Midfielder, we've got some explosive traits about him, can play forward a little bit as well. But there's not many players that are a bit explosive in this draft and can push forward, have their versatility. You can play more forward, but can play in midfield as well. So Philippou and Braden George are two guys in that range. You want to keep an eye on where they go. They can go anywhere. Braden George could go as late as early second round. But in my power rankings, I had him at 11. So be interesting one to keep an eye on there. Ruben Giddenby, WA midfielder, played some waffle senior footy. I think he played 4 games there. So he's had some exposure already to waffle footy, which is good standard to start off at that age when he was 17, 18. It could go as early as the Gold Coast pick as well, at pick 5. So it will be an interesting one to see. He could be one that could slide to West Coast if Gold Coast don't get him there. That's what I've got the feeling at the moment. But things can change. Jasper Fletcher, father-son with the Brisbane Lions. No matter where the bid is, even if it's in the first round, Brisbane will match. They've got the points to do so. So he'll be a Lion. Could even be in their team throughout the year. Now, I've got him in 14 in my power rankings here. Ed Allen. He's a bit of a bolter. But again, like Philippou, he's got a really tall, got height in him, and he's a dangerous, explosive player as well. So he'll be one to keep an eye on from WA as well. Ed Allen. The Eagles will sure look at him. And another WA guy, Elijah Hewitt, another midfielder. It's a midfielder draft, they call it. He could be one the Eagles keep an eye on as well. Jed Buslinger, he's the only key defender in the top 20 range for me. Lewis Hayes dropped just outside of that 20. But Jed Buslinger, he's a WA guy. Again, people say to me that at the West Coast, because I had them, they should show interest in him. People go, they got McGovern and Barras and Hearn. Well, Hearn won't be there after next year. McGovern hasn't got long left, and then it just leaves Barras. We go Reet Bazzo, no thank you. Brady Hoffer's not a key defender, so they need some areas, and who could be any better in this draft than Jed Buslinger is a key defender. He's WA guys. That'd be smart for Wizards. They want to draft local guys. Well, here's one right here, right now. People say they need to bolster their mids. Yeah, well, you need a key defender as well with Barras. So Jed Buslinger after next year could definitely be the guy. Now we start to move on to a bit later on. Charlie Clark, small forward, is dangerous, kicks a bag of goals. He kicked 20-something goals in 9 games. So he's a dangerous player to keep an eye out for. Can play a little bit of midfield, mainly as a small forward. GWS, I feel, should be looking at him. Mitch, now I apologise in advance to get this pronunciation. I'm not very good with pronunciation, but Mitch Sizbakowski can play a bit of midfield as well from Victoria. There's a lot of names with different last names here in this draft and first names, so interesting. I think Gil or whoever reads the names there might have a tough time doing so. But he's a Mitch Sizbakowski. And a midfielder, can play a bit of forward as well. Oliver Hollands, the brother of Gold Coast's Elijah Hollands. He draft ranges from anywhere from pick 10 to 20. Bit of a smaller type. You can see where he goes. Now, the other key forward that I talk about is Isaac Keeler from South Australia. Can play key forward ruck. Been likened a little bit to Paddy Ryder, but I would be more inclined to say he's more of a forward than a ruck. St Kilda is someone that he should be linked to. Is that type of player we need. King and Membry. But you need another size of height of King. If Marshall's going to be the main ruck, you need probably another forward. St Kilda have a pick in the 20s, 28, I think it is, off the top of my head. But I don't know if he'll be available then. His range, honestly, could be from anywhere from pick 10 all the way to 28. So it's a real tough one to see where Isaac Keeler goes. And people keep saying, oh, in my draft need posts I do for each club, oh, you keep linking him to all these clubs. Well, if you've got to pick between 10 and 28, you're probably going to be linked to him because, and there's not many key forwards. I said Cameron will go to the Giants. Then you got Matt Jefferson, who won't go past Melbourne's pick 15, I think it is. So then that leaves you Isaac Keeler. So then you're pretty thin on key forwards from there. So that's why I've linked him to so many clubs, because there's not many key forwards out there, at least in that range. So that's why I got him there. He could be a smoky first round pick if you ask me. Max Gruski can play off the half-back, play a bit of wing as well. You can see where he goes. Lewis Hayes, speaking of key defenders, along with Buslinger, he's the next key defender in the ranks, Victoria. Lewis Hayes, the intercept defender type as well. want to keep an eye on. Ollie Houghton is another one who can play smaller type as well, play a bit of forward. And another intercept defender, around 191 centimetres, is Josh Weedle. He's another one to keep an eye on. Again, as I said, not many key defenders or intercept defenders for that matter. You got Buslinger, and you got Lewis Hayes and Josh Weedle as the top 3 defender, taller options. Then others in the mix is Alwyn Davey Jr. with Essendon with the NGA. Again, depends where a bid comes. So they probably have to eliminate that pick. It's interesting though, he's an NGA Academy. He's a father-son, I think. So that's different. Father-son rules should be no different to NGA if you ask me. And you got Jacob Costanti, Max Millick-Lanny, who's tied to that Adelaide Academy. A father-son, sorry. Henry Huswaite, bit of a utility. And Harvey Bennett is the next ruckman, I think, in line. He's more of a pure ruckman. He's Harvey Bennett, behind Harry Bennett, behind Isaac Keeler. So, interesting to see where these guys goes. If you like these draft content videos, please let me know what you think. Phantom Draft will drop probably a week or so before the draft. Then I'll update my draft day of or the night before. So, keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out also to my daily post I'm doing until I finish 18 clubs for their draft needs. I've done the Saints, I've done Essendon, I've done Fremantle, I've done a lot of clubs so far, particularly in that top 20 range so far. I haven't got too many more to go, so I'll keep finishing those off, and hopefully going to have some more draft content, or continuously have more draft content in the upcoming weeks. And a few special guests, guys, keep an eye on from the draft group of people this year. So hopefully you can see some more guests very soon. You've got one this Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. And fair to say, this guest is a top 10 draftee. That's your hint. Potential top 10 draftee. Very likely if I had my decision making where he would rank. So, appreciate you all for tuning in. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Want to keep getting those subscriber numbers up. It would greatly appreciate if you can do so. Would really, really appreciate it. Until next time, everyone, have a great one. And just remember, keep an eye out on my Facebook page, AFL Information, Trade Rumours and Results. On Instagram, AFL Info Live, for all your draft content. Cooper Gretsch, 24/7. He does not stop. He keeps going to do his work. And he's the number 1 newsbreaker in the business. And the number 1 Facebook page in the business. Thank you all. Till then, remember, please go subscribe. It costs absolutely nothing. Thank you all. And get ready for that draft, November 28th and 29th. And rookie draft on the following day, 30th of November. Again, but there's going to be plenty more content to come. Thank you all.